Hey there to my 36 subscribers, my future subscribers, and all the people that secretly watch me without subscribing. Somebody asked me to talk about OCD, and it is important to understand because the majority of people do misunderstand it. You see people online all the time saying they're OCD because their house is clean or because their house is organized, and that's not what it is. OCD can trigger those things, but generally speaking, people clean their houses and they organize them because they like the way they look. So what OCD actually is when you have compulsions that or obsessions and compulsions generally together. So some of the types of OCD is you might check things obsessively because they feel unsafe. For example, you might check your stove and check your TV and check your fridge and check your front door and everything, and you might do it over and over before leaving the house. And some people will actually leave their houses and then drive back and check them again because they still feel like something's not safe, something's wrong, and they have to go check it because they have these thoughts that won't leave them alone. Another type is the type that people kind of when they clean themselves excessively. They wash their hands excessively to the point of causing injury to themselves. They might shower several times a day because they're afraid that there may be germs on them and they're going to get sick, or they might die because they have these germs that they just can't get rid of. And so they will go in the shower and they will be in there forever, and then they'll come out for a little bit and they'll go right back in. And of course it also covers cleaning the house or whatever. You might wash a dish and then stop for a second and go, oh wait, maybe it's not clean, and wash it again. And then you're like, oh, well, I might have missed a spot, and then you'll wash it again. Another type of OCD is where you repeat things because you're afraid something bad's going to happen if you don't. So that covers things like people that will flip light switches on and off, like over and over and over, like they have to do it a certain number of times. Or like they might open their fridge and close it multiple times, a certain number every time, the same number. They might just have like little things that a lot of people don't even notice, that they do it and they have to count and do it the same number of times every single time. Or they might do it in the same order every single time. Another type is rearranging things. This is the one where people, exaggerate online, where people think, because their house is clean and organized, that they have OCD, but it's so much more than that. The people that have the type of OCD that involves rearranging things, they do it because if they look at something, their heart might start racing. They might get pressure in their chest. They might start to panic because it's not in the right order. They might start to feel sick because it's not in the right order. And so they have to do it, otherwise, they're afraid something bad's going to happen to them. Some of the triggers that cause OCD. One, what I think is the biggest, and I would say the trigger that initiates it for most people, is stress or trauma. And then, of course, the more stress, the more severe the symptoms, or the more you think about the trauma, the more severe the symptoms. It can be triggered by fear. You might fear danger. Like I said, with, like the stove, you might, have a fear that it's going to burn the house down, and you may have to drive back to the house to check and make sure, even though you've checked it, 3, 4, 5 times before leaving the house, you might have to drive back. Another type of fear is disappointment from others, because you think that you have to do things perfect. So you repetitively do things, or you do things precisely because you're worried that other people are going to not like you, or get mad at you, or hurt you if you don't do it specifically the way that you think they want it done. Another trigger, well, the main trigger, that what actually makes all this happen is intrusive thoughts. You'll have a thought about something that you need to do, and you may do it, and then the thought will come back and you have to do it again, and the thought will come back and you have to do it again. Or you might get this thought that you have to do something and you don't want to do it, but you can't not do it because this thought is just overwhelming and controlling. And some of the things that, if you want to know what it looks like from the outside, someone that has OCD, like I said, you'll see them wash their hands, so much that they could injure themselves. They'll rub their hands raw, they'll bleed and crack because they've washed them way too much. And I don't mean people that just, they're busy, they do things and they have to wash their hands because they're getting dirty all the time. But people that will wash their hands, and despite the fact their hands are clean, they'll go back and wash them again. Or they'll sit in there and wash them for long periods of time. Another thing that you'll see is rituals. Always doing things the same. Always doing it in the same order, and never varying, never changing. When you say, hey, maybe you could do it a different way, the person will absolutely refuse because they have a ritual. They have to do it the way that they are already doing it. Another thing you'll see is people that repeat words or phrases. And some people think that, they'll see someone doing that and they'll think that they're crazy. They'll think they're talking to themselves. They'll think they're talking to somebody that's not there. But the reality is they have to repeat the words. They have to repeat the phrases because they have these intrusive thoughts telling them they have to do it. And they're counting, people that sit there and they have to count things constantly. Like I said, counting the light switches, counting opening and closing of fridges and doors and things. They have to count things that don't even make any sense. I mean, I've done it with a lot of things. I have obsessions with counting things. I could probably make a whole video just on the counting part of it, but I'm not going to do that right now. So, and the thing is, these people, they a lot of times try to hide what they're doing because they feel shame. They don't want people knowing that they're having these issues, that they're doing these things, and so they feel shameful, and they get confused. They don't understand why other people are not the same, why other people don't do the things they do. And so it kind of taunts them in a way. The people could know that what they're doing is irrational, but yet they still have to do it. They can't stop themselves because, even though they know it's irrational, they know they're not going to die because they didn't wash their hands, they've got that nagging thought telling them, yeah, that's going to happen. You have to do it. And they will still do it, even though they know they don't have to. And people get stuck, if they don't do the things that they're being told to do in their own thoughts, they get stuck. They're unable to move forward. They're unable to continue with their day. They're unable to get anything done because they have to accomplish the thing that's nagging at them to be done. And there's a battle, and the battle is, two-sided. You feel anger when someone tries to stop you from doing the task that you have to do. If somebody tells you, hey, you can't do that, you have to stop, or if they try to restrain you or block you, you may feel physically ill at the idea of stopping. You might be so uncomfortable that you feel like you're gonna die. And I mean, that's extreme, but that's, OCD is extreme at times. And the other side of that is there's anger from other people because you're going to make them late. You're going to make yourself late. You get obsessed with certain little things, little details, and it delays things. It makes people late, and others will get mad and take it out on you if they don't understand. You don't have complete control over it. And this will add, to the shame and the confusion. As far as trying to stop it, some ideas online, people talk about starving the compulsions and let the thoughts come and go. And it's a hard thing to do, but it is possible. You might need help with it, but what I mean by that is you feel like you have to do something, and then you force yourself to do something different. You feel like you have to complete something, and you force yourself to stop. You feel like you have to do something in a specific order, and you force yourself to do it in a different order. That's how you starve the compulsions. You need to try and understand your personal triggers so that you know what the reason is you do things, and it gives you better control if you are trying to stop. If you don't understand what the triggers are, it makes it nearly impossible to stop doing them. Find things that make you happy, distractions. Like I said in the beginning, one of the biggest causes of OCD is stress. So if you find things that make you happy, your stress level comes down and OCD symptoms can be reduced. You can expose yourself and go and do the things that you're uncomfortable with. Make yourself do the things that, like, if you're afraid to touch something, touch it. Keep your hand on it until your heart rate stops racing and until you calm down. Tell the people around you that what you're wanting to do. Tell them that you need help. Ask them, to help you, and if they can't help you, to at least not belittle you while you're trying to fix your problems. Online they say you can increase your levels of serotonin. I don't know if that's a fact or not. I've seen it in several places. I've never done that. My issues have slowly gotten better because my stress level's gone down. So I don't know how the serotonin works, but supposedly it works. OCD never goes away. It's always there. You can control it with help, but if the triggers come back, the OCD will come back. It never goes completely away. And if you know somebody with it, give them a safe place to talk. Give them, you know, let them know that it's okay to talk to you, that you're not going to judge them, and you'll listen, and that could actually help them in the long run. Just to touch on some of the things that I went through as a kid, you know, things were not really noticeable, or maybe it's just that people didn't understand what was happening, but like if people used to tease me about, you know, if my food touched my plate, I wouldn't eat it. But, you know, I thought that if the food's touched, that it would harm me in some way. And so I would say I wasn't hungry. Even if I felt like I was starving, I would just say I wasn't hungry. Because once the food touched, I didn't want it anymore. I don't know why I had... I thought green foods, everything green, I thought was poison. And so I just decided I didn't like the color green because I didn't want people to know that it was about the food. I just didn't want any green food to poison me. And so I decided I didn't like the color green. And didn't like any shade of it because, you know, the reality was I didn't want to eat it. I had this thing that if I didn't do things perfect, if I thought I couldn't do something perfect on the first try, I thought people would hate me, so I wouldn't even try. So there's a lot of things in my life that I never actually have done. There's a lot of foods I've never had because I was worried what would happen if it didn't turn out perfect. As far as the foods, I was worried what would happen if I didn't like it. Like, how do I tell somebody I don't like something once I've, you know, stuck it in my mouth? And luckily I'm not bad like that anymore. But one thing that's kind of stuck with me and still sneaks in once in a while, if I do something on one side of my body, I have to do it on the other. So for example, when you're walking and you step on a crack with one foot, then I would have to step on a crack with the other foot, and I'd have to make sure the crack felt the same. And if it didn't feel the same, I would continuously keep finding them until they felt even. Or cleaning my fingernails, I had to do them in a certain order. Each fingernail I had to scrape a certain number of times, and if I did it in one order on one hand, I had to do the same order on the other hand. There couldn't be any variation, or I'd have to start over. But yeah, if I touched something with one hand, I had to touch it with the other, you know. And like I said, my stress levels come down a lot over the last few years, and so I'm not really having the problems like I used to. But I know there's always a possibility. If things in life change and I get stressed out, I'm sure, you know, the old habits will come back, because that's what they are. They're old habits. They're not gone. They're just hiding temporarily. So anyway, hopefully this information helps somebody, helps you understand it a little bit better, helps you understand that just because you like a clean house or you like it organized doesn't mean that you're OCD. And on the other hand, if you have a messy, cluttered house, it doesn't mean you don't have a OCD. They are not the same thing. And so anyway, please like, subscribe, comment, share the video. Tell me some things that you've had to do. If you have OCD, you know, tell me what effects it's had on your life. I will be back next weekend. So thank you for watching, and see you soon. Bye.
Drove the old school Chevy, but my fans are the nice, so I'm rock star ready. I could've left the VIP waiting, but they all waiting for me. I'm a lightweight, famous, hold up. Let me pose real quick, my spotlight.